I'm here. I just did 2 shorts. One for my warrior Princess Raven and one for my mom. I want to thank Josh, um, Studio Acres, and Raven for coming to my StreamYard chat. I have the comments turned off on this. If you guys wish, you can leave me a comment at the bottom. And please give me a thumbs up and like and share and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I appreciate that. So, just a few things I just wanted to talk about. People don't really understand the seriousness of PTSD and mental illness and all that stuff and other illnesses. A lot of people don't understand it. And, I'm not one to get upset. I'm not one to be emotional. It's just, May is a very, very difficult month for me. Losing my mom, and then her birthday was the 26th of May, and it just sucks, and cancer fucking sucks. I also lost my father-in-law to cancer, leukemia, same as my mom. The only difference was he had acute leukemia. He was gone. He was diagnosed in May. How ironic, May again. And he passed in October of that same year. And he went for radiation and chemo. And mom had chronic leukemia and was on a chemo antidote that at one point she couldn't take anymore because her body built up a tolerance to it. And they put her on another one and pretty much fucked her all up. Of course, her vascular system is shut down. All that stuff. She had heart attacks. She had to have cabbage, whatever they call it, done. Having some water. Hold on one second. So she had that done. She had that done on New Year's Eve one year. I was rushed to the hospital. And they didn't think she was going to pull through the surgery because of her age. And she proved them wrong, as always. She was a warrior too, just like my Raven. And she went through a lot of stuff, a lot of battles. And I had to charge my phone. It was very hard for me because, when she started going down the hill, I was not the best kid. Kid, I was an adult. But I was going through a rough time. And alcohol was my demon. And I put her through hell. Hold on, what's that, guys? I just got a private message from my sister, Facebook sister. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. That was my Facebook sister just saying goodnight. She's on the west coast of the United States. So, as I was saying, the stem of my alcoholism was basically a combination of EMS work and taking care of my mom and my hubby's mom at the same time. And what really hit my alcoholism hard and my PTSD was a combination of a lot of things. I grew up not in the best, I didn't have the best childhood. My parents separated. I lost contact with my mom for a while. And then my dad was abusive and took it all out on me. And so that didn't help any. And then finding my late mother-in-law unresponsive 11 years ago in July. Unresponsive with agonal breathing. And I was her caretaker and I wasn't there for her soon enough. And I lived with that guilt. And my trigger points for my PTSD to this day, even though she's been gone, it'll be 11 years, was seeing any type of medical or commercials, anything like that, triggers me big time. I can't be in a room if I hear one of those commercials come on TV, automatically, PTSD trigger. I have to get out of that room. And it's the same, like, with my hubby now. He's, got COPD. He's got back issues. He's got a lot of health issues. And he'll be 72 years old. And and he yells for me for something, and it just sends shockwaves through my body. Because he's had 2 instances where he tripped over an extension cord. And the first one, he fractured his humerus and severely dislocated his other shoulder. And he was over at the hospital he was over at the ER. My son and I could not pick him up because he was totally dead weight, plus having a broken humerus, couldn't move him. Plus he was totally dead weight. So we called 911 and they came, took him to the hospital, did x-rays, and he indeed shattered, well, not shattered, but fractured his humerus right at the head. And I don't think it ever healed properly because the surgeon decided that he just wanted him to go for physical therapy, nothing else, just physical therapy. So that was that. And then they decided to give him Norco, and they gave him, they told us because he doesn't like to take Norco. So they gave him the Norco. They said, take that if you want to, or take a leave. Well, we were alternating between the two. And he woke up. He had to go to the bathroom. And I had to have system because he was very weak. Because he just happened to get out of the hospital like a month prior, and he was still recovering from that first hospital stay. That's when we found out he had fractures in his lower lumbar spine. And so he's a hot mess, and he worries me. So he said he was screaming for me to go in and help him in the bathroom, and he had dark stools. And he had a nurse coming out to do blood draws and stuff. And I checked his vitals. His vitals were very, very low. And I said, this is not good at all. I said, you need to go to the hospital. And he says, I'm not going to the hospital. And his physical therapist came for PT. And I said, he's in bad shape. And she took one look at him. We called the nurse, and he was arguing with the nurse. He didn't even know what day it was. He was totally confused. And he was rushed over to the hospital. And turned out he had a GI bleed from too much leave. So, plus he was an AFib again. So they kept him in the hospital for a couple days. And not a couple days. I think he actually sent himself out of the hospital because they were treating him poorly over there. because they gave him one of those stupid braces that go around your shoulder, around your back, around your waist type. And poor guy couldn't even eat because they kept the food tray so far away where he couldn't even reach it. They put his cell phone on the windowsill where he couldn't reach his cell phone. He couldn't even reach the call bell or nothing. It was a nightmare. Plus, they were manhandling him. I went there to see him one day, and the nurses, the CNAs were so rough with him, slamming him from one side of the bed to the other because he was in diapers at the time. And it was just heartbreaking to see. It just broke my heart. So, if you have elder loved ones that are in the hospital or in nursing homes, whatever, check on them all the time. That poor guy did not eat the entire time he was in that hospital. And when he came home, he signed himself out. And the nurse said, well, if he signed himself out, AMA, he doesn't get a wheelchair. And I said, well, if you don't get a wheelchair and he falls, it's on your property. You're still technically liable. He signed AMA, and he's not mentally capable of making that decision. And I don't have any power of attorney or anything over him. So he has to make all his decisions on his own. So she got him a wheelchair. She pissed him on about it. And he had bruises all over, from the fall, when he had the fall. Of course, he's going to bruises there. But he had bruises on the other side of his body. And his private area was flaming red. They were putting hair conditioner on his private area instead of lotion. And I was pretty pissed. I actually went down to the hospital administration and I said, listen, this is what's going on. This is what's been going on. They're not, all I ask, I know a lot of hospitals are short-staffed. I get it. I worked in a retirement community where my mom lived. I get it. I understand short-staffing in the medical field. I totally get it. But, Jesus, that poor guy practically was starving because those idiots, and every time he managed to get to the call bell for a diaper change, they all gave him an attitude. They were all pissed off about it. Like, really? Really? So I was there when he got his lunch delivered one day. And I wound up myself, wound up cutting up his food for him and trying to get him to eat. And he says, fuck it, I'm not eating. I don't have an appetite. Fuck it, I'm not eating. So we asked the nurse, what medication is he getting? And because I had one of the hospital administrators come up to visit with him and talk to him. And plus the EMS crew that took him to the hospital sucked. They were assholes. I had it out with them too because I was trying to give him privacy. And I always treated my patients with privacy and dignity and respect. And this asshole, young EMT, says, oh, I can't park in your driveway. That's what he told my son. Can't park in your driveway because it's a liability in case we break your driveway. Do you really think I really care about you breaking my goddamn driveway at this point? No. I care more about his privacy. Because I have a bunch of nosy neighbors. I care more about his privacy than I do about anything else. So, when he came home, he was extremely weak. And I was getting him insured and all that stuff. And again, he was so weak he couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom by himself. I had to go out and buy him diapers, and I was taking care of him 24/7. And then they gave him probiotic, which was going through him like water. So I had to constantly keep him hydrated. It was just a big mess. But enough about that. So like I said before, the hardest part for me with my alcoholism was the hell I put my mom through, put my husband through, and my kids through. You know, it was just a demon. It was double shots of Jameson and Miller Lite. That's what it was. That was my cocktail. And they were like, if you don't stop, you're going to lose all of us. And the thing that was really scary was that I was actually drinking so bad that I wasn't even getting sick from drinking. That's what was really alarming. Because my husband's also a recovered alcoholic. And he said, you're going down a dark road and it's not going to be pretty. He goes, you're going to wind up getting sick, you're going to go through DTs, you're going to go through all this crap. And I went to AA meetings with my mom. And after I dropped my mom off, I said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to the bar. And that's what I did. I went right to the bar right after AA meetings. She found out I was at the bar one night after an AA meeting, after I dropped her off. She got in her car and went down and checked to see if I was at the bar. I got a phone call from her screaming at me that she was going to kick my ass for being in the bar. She said, if you continue doing this shit, my foot is going to be planted up your ass. And then see my kids came up to me and they were begging me, Mommy, please stop. Please stop. And I finally hit rock bottom. And after I hit rock bottom, guess what? Never had a drink again. I can't even stand the smell of alcohol. I remember I was trying to coordinate some issues. We were having some issues with a former internet provider. And they were giving us a hard. They went out of business and never bothered to tell anybody. So they just cut our internet. Nobody had internet. Everyone that had service with them had no internet. So that was like a big stink. And a lot of people were pissed. I even made the news. I called the news about it. I was on the news. Not once, but a few times. I was like, when the pandemic hit, I was talking about concerns about the kids going back to school. The internet company, same thing. I was on the news for that too. I think there's another thing I was on the news for. What was it? I think it was two things for the pandemic. Yeah, two things for the pandemic. Because they wanted to reopen school, and they wanted public school open with no virtual learning option. And that was in the beginning of my sons are twins, by the way. That was in the beginning of their senior year, and little did I know that my one son was going into a dark path of being on Discord, just catfished. And here I thought all along, didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just a hormone thing. And nope. His brother told me, Mom, there's something not right with him. Something not right with him. And I said, what do you mean? Something's not right with him. And he goes, Mom, I'm telling you something's not right. And I went to go confront him about it, and he denied it. And he tried to take his life 4 times. Luckily, his brother saved his life the first time. The second time, I happened to go in his room. I caught him with a plastic bag wrapped around his head, tried suffocating himself. It was the hardest time of my life, putting my baby in a mental hospital, thinking that he was going to get help. They didn't do anything for him. They made him worse. After his second admission, there was no communication with this place at all. It was a dive. It was a shithole. After his second admission, he had cuts up and down his arms while he was there. Not here, while he was under their care. And Couldn't get through to a director. Nobody. I went on Google. I put in complaints with Google, on the review page. You should see the reviews. This place gets horrible reviews. So, after that happened, he wound up having this horrible, horrible cough with 102 fever. And I thought, here we go. He's got, you know what, again. I'm not going to say because YouTube doesn't like you talking about it. So I said, here we go again. So it turns out, took him over to the ER, and he didn't have it. He was severely dehydrated. And the doctor said to me, he goes, well, Mom, you got to start pushing fluids on him. And I'm like, I told the doctor straight out, I said, he just got out of the psychiatric hospital. When I said the name of the psychiatric hospital, he just gave me the eye roll. He says, say no more. And just gave me the eye roll. So they pumped him up with IV fluids. And when he got home, all he did was, because they had him on so much different medications, he slept for seemed like days. And didn't have an appetite. All he wanted to do was sleep. And he's never been the same. He was bullied at school. When he went back to, because when the pandemic hit, they gave us the option, like when they did the shutdown, they gave us the option where, at the beginning of their junior year, where they can either go virtual or they can go traditional. And my one son, he was in the Air Force JRCT, so he decided that he wanted to go into the Air Force originally, but then Dad's health was declining. His brother, twin brother, his mental health was declining. So he decided, well, you know what? This is how it's going to go. And he said, I'll go virtual. And I said, okay. Little did I know, he's on Discord. And all this stuff was going on Discord. So I'm not a fan of Discord. And I tried to report this person to Discord. Of course, person claims they live in Puerto Rico. Person could be living right here, right under my nose, for all I know. And when he went to the one morning, he came out, he was screaming, yelling at me that you effing this, you effing that. And my son was never like that with me before, never. Then his third admission, which I didn't want to put him back there again, but I didn't have a choice. After his third admission, he was banging his head with a hairdryer and banging his head against windows and doors, you name it. So I was like, I had to call the sheriff's office again to declare him as a 1013, which is a person that's in danger to themselves and others. And I was trying to do a video clip of him with his behavior. And so his psychiatrist could see, his outpatient psychiatrist could see his behaviors. And he grabbed my phone and he accidentally slammed the back of my head into the wall. He didn't do it intentionally. It was just by accident. And I managed to text 911, and they said, do you have an, and of course I can't respond back because now he's got my phone is across his room. And so that was after that admission. Then his final admission, he tried to submerge himself in the bathtub. He tried to drown himself in the bathtub. He wrapped the towel around his head and filled up the bathtub with enough water where we just cover him up, where he would just pretty much try to drown himself. Then what those clowns did was, nobody would listen to me. He doesn't do well with antidepressant medication. So what the clowns do is they put him on Lexapro. After I told him I wasn't going to give it to him because he does not do well with antidepressants because he's high suicide tendency, they wouldn't listen to me. So what did they do? Day after he's discharged, they called DFACS on me. He's 17 years old at the time. They called DFACS. DFACS comes out. Of course, they don't even have their ID on. I said, listen, I'm not allowing you in my house until you show me who you are and your credentials. So she showed me her ID, and I said, may I ask why you're here? And she said, because I got a complaint that you're neglecting your son and not giving him his medication, this prescribed medication. And I said, whoa, back up a minute. And I said, there's only one medication I will not give him, and that's because he's high suicide. And she said to me, she says, well, that's not what the report says. It says that you withdrew him from all of his medication. I said, that's not true. Then when I showed her the pictures of what he looked like after his second admission, she was horrified. Poor kid was pacing back and forth. He was a basket case, because he thought he was going to be taken away. And again, that's what he thought, because he said, here we go again. And they pretty much said, okay, we need, notes, you to sign off on medical releases for the facility, for this, and this. And he just barely graduated high school, virtual, because he was in the hospital. And it was just a very rough time for me. It was a rough time for him. And now he's extremely, extremely more open with me now. And he talks to me more about things that bother him. And that means a lot, because he never opened up before. So, with that being said, like I was saying, I turn the comments off on this just because, again, I have kids that come into this chat and they get rude and disrespectful to my mods and my other chat members. So I figured I'd leave the comments off for now. If you'd like to leave a comment at the end of the stream, I appreciate it. And for the people that are watching, please like and if you wish, you can subscribe. I don't normally go into too much personal detail, but I just want people to know that I am struggling with PTSD, and I don't normally do this stuff, but I'm just going through a very rough time right now. Losing my mom 5 years ago, and still to this day, remember getting that phone call 8:30 in the morning telling me that she had passed peacefully in her sleep. And, that's the one thing that used to upset me, because I know, like, when I used to do my EMS work, I used to hate when people say, oh, she passed away peacefully. And, like, how do you know? If you weren't there, how do you know they weren't peacefully in their sleep? How do you know they weren't struggling to breathe or whatever, or had a heart attack or whatever? How do you know? If you weren't there, how can you say somebody passed away in their sleep peacefully? How do you know? Like, I can't tell you how many car wrecks I had to take care of patients. And a lot of them, unfortunately, I had a young man who was 23 years old. His car got trapped underneath a tractor trailer that was carrying batteries. And he was pinned in his car. His car caught on fire. And that poor kid burned to death. We couldn't save him. It was too dangerous for us. It was too dangerous for the fire department. And he was screaming for help. And, to this day, that still haunts me. That still haunts me to this day. And it was just very heartbreaking. And I remember when his parents were contacted, and when the fire department was able to say, hey, you know what, we think we can contain it. He was already, he was burnt up, so he was already gone. And his mom came up to me, and she said to me, she says, thank you for all you've tried to do for my son. And I said to her, I wish I could have done more. That was the hardest thing. And I never, ever in my life, in my whole entire EMS career, never lied to a family member. Whether it was my volunteer gig or my pay job. If I had one of my residents that was on hospice, where my mom lived, and their families came to me and said, did my mom go peacefully? And I was honest with them. Sometimes, yeah, they went peacefully, and sometimes no. And the hardest thing is when you have a mom come up to an accident scene for her 23-year-old son, her only son, and see that, and thanking you for trying to save her son. You felt powerless, like you couldn't save him. No matter what you did, there was no way we could have saved that poor kid. So that haunts me to this day. And that was right in the beginning of my career. So my channel initially was going to be geared towards mental health awareness because of my son. And I was talking to LC. He's a supporter of the channel. And he says, what do you really enjoy doing, Annie? What is one of the biggest things you enjoy doing? And I told him I enjoy taking care of, cats. I have cats that come to my house, feral cats, stray cats that come to my house in my backyard. And he goes, well, you know what? Build your channel up and focus it on critters. So that's what I've been doing. I've been focusing my channel for critters. And, I've been doing like random things. I've been mixing it up because I also do share streams with Ian. So, I switch it up. So that's that. So here, let me show you guys some of my fur babies. This one here is my spoiled brat. Come here, Susie. Come here, you. Come here. You're not gonna come, my mommy? Come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, she's not gonna come. All right, hold on. I know how I can get her down. This is Manny. He's my old man. He's my first Georgia cat, actually. Come on, Susie. Give him a catnip. Come on. Oh, come on, you. Well, that was a good move. Where are you? What? This cat, I swear to God, is reincarnation of my mom. You believe in reincarnation? That's her. It's my mom. Okay. And I found her. Mom passed away in May. 4 months later, I found her in my backyard. Left alone. I don't know if her mom was in the transition of moving her and her, because after I found her, I showed her to my former neighbor, and then we were coming back to between the two properties, and we heard meows coming from their property, and it turned out Susie had a sister or a brother. It turned out to be a girl too. So we were getting prepared for the tropical storm Dorian, and I thought Susie was a boy at first, and there was a joke behind that, because one of my good friends on Facebook, who actually is a real friend in real life, happens to be my brother-in-law's ex, and she said, hey, show me Dorian's privates, and she put that on my timeline, and I'm like, huh, I'm not posting any kitty privates on my Facebook account. She said, just send them to me in private message. So I sent them over to her in private message, and she goes, I hate to tell you, but Dorian is not a boy. Dorian is a girl. Well, my hubby was relieved about that because if you remember, Hurricane Dorian did a lot of destruction. He goes, there's nothing ever good that comes out of that name Dorian, ever. So he renamed her Susie. And because I asked him, I said, what are you going to name her? He goes, Susie. I said, Susie. He goes, yeah, we're going to name her after your mom. I'm like, oh yeah, she's probably up there right now, wherever she is, and probably having a kick out of this. And so that's how Susie got her name. So I'm sorry if I bored anybody with my story, but I just had to get some stuff out of my system tonight. My doctor told me I have to do it. He suggested do pre-recorded stuff, like if there's something that's bothering me on YouTube. He said do a pre-recorded so you can get out of your system before you actually do your live. And I didn't do that tonight. I just let it all out. I didn't call anybody out. Didn't mention names. I don't mention people's names in my streams ever. I just want to just express how I feel. And I want to thank everyone that's watching. And I want to thank everyone who supports me and has my back. It means a lot to me. And I'm going to get ready to end this because I'm going to make something to eat and maybe crash soon because I did not sleep well at all last night. As you can see, the dark rings under my eyes. I didn't sleep very well at all last night. So with that being said, I thank you all for your support. And if you could, please hit the like button. If you're not subbed up and you're over 18, please hit the subscribe button. And please leave a comment underneath the video. And also share out if you wish. It's up to you. Thank you all for listening to me vent. And I hope everyone has a great night. It is now, what time is it here? It's now almost 12:30 a.m. Tuesday. And I hope everyone has a great Tuesday and a great rest of your week. And I'll see everyone tomorrow, 8 p.m. with Ian. Have a great night, everyone. I love everyone. Much love from Annie and my critters. And I'll see everyone tomorrow. Have a great night.